This week's Donald Trump's legal L's for the week is coming to you in two parts. Part one is this video, not as many receipts, but it's going to be just me riffing off the news of the week, something I've promised you for a long time to do from the first time when I started pivoting to do political content from the left. The second part of this series will be the actual legal L's. What I normally do is just go through the losses in courts for the Trump administration with the receipts on the screen so you can screenshot it and find out for yourself. So let's start with part one. It's going to be podcast style, just riffing, because I usually try to put the receipts because I feel like I'm not always given the benefit of the doubt of knowing what I'm talking about. Some folks come on my, videos and just say, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and scroll off. And so that's why I usually have receipts. But I think, and people have asked me to just give my thoughts on things, and folks have said, you should do a podcast. So I'm like, you know what, let me give it a whirl. So this is the closest thing. And if you like this format, if you've been following me for a while, let me know in the comments if you like this. So let's get started. And the theme of this week's podcast is why Republicans cannot govern worth shit, not on the executive level when it comes to Donald Trump and his cabinet and his goons. And this week, more than any other week in the past 7 months, have proven it. This week, more than any other week since Donald Trump has come into office, we've learned why Republicans and Congress cannot be trusted and why they too needs to be voted out. My Operation 2/3 campaign, one woman campaign to get 2/3 vote in Congress to flip to blue and independent so we can get rid of the Trump administration, start healing the country, common sense government control, comprehensive information, all the things the Democrats wanted, but just for some reason were faltering. And yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about why you can't trust the Republican governors. So if you live in a state where you're a Republican governor, from what Governor Abbott's done recently to the governor of Missouri, what he's done to Governor Spencer Cox of Utah, putting his foot in his mouth yesterday, and to the Governor DeSantis of Florida, they do not look after your interest at all. They're actually trying to unalive their own citizens and stop voting for Republicans on every level. And then finally, and we might even start at the end, the citizenry, the MAGAs, how rabid and delusional and irrational they are. We've known they've always been that way, but this week they've been royally owned by themselves and by their own, and they're rabid. And so this self-own of theirs is sweet. Justice is delicious because it's given the Democrats a big I told you so moment and get off our freaking back, get off of our necks, back the F off moment. Starts and ends with what happened with the unaliving of right-wing neo-Nazi white nationalist, Christian nationalist Charlie Kirk on Wednesday, 3 days ago. So yeah, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned to this episode of, I don't know what I'm going to call this podcast. Give me some ideas in the comments below. All right, thank you. Okay, first let's start with the Charlie Kirk. We now know that the person, not quite sure why people were surprised, who unalived on Wednesday Charlie Kirk, neo-Nazi, white nationalist, Christian, alt-right podcaster who's said a lot of vile things, did not deserve what happened to him. He's a dad, he is a husband, and he has family. He's someone's son, someone's uncle, I'm assuming. So the way he went out by violence is never good for anyone. As a Christian, I can't be proud of that. I know a lot of people are saying they don't have empathy for him because he's a person that says the empathy is not good. He's also a person, and this is why some people are having a hard time, not me though, feeling empathy for his loss, is because he's a person who said that he would let his 10-year-old daughter, who was have that rapist baby, even if that delivering that rapist baby may end the life of his 10-year-old daughter.
Growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why. No, hold on. Let me ask you a question. No, preventing implant.
So that's the person who said that, who said he's trying to get rid of MLK, Juneteenth holidays, and all the civil rights acts, and has said of our black women that we lack the brain processing power. And he said this specifically of Ketanji Brown Jackson, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
He said a lot of vile things. So he's, if he made enemies out of a lot of people. And this week also a lot of Christian people who are non-political and apolitical, who've never said anything about politics in their lives, are coming out sad about Charlie Kirk's death and saying he's a good Christian. It's like, a good Christian? Have you heard the things that man said? He's a hate monger. He's made the life of a lot of people who he puts in his crosshairs and sticks his fans on miserable. Some people are still, Gia Prism is someone I follow. She said she's still experiencing trauma from the time she was a target of Charlie Kirk. So he's made life horrible. He had a website dedicated to getting people doxing, and he's not a good person. Why, pray tell, is Pete Hegseth? I'm getting ahead of myself. Pete Hegseth. There's a video of him out there. Go look it up. Demanding black soldiers pray for this man, and there's news reports out today that he's probably admonishing people who have made fun of Charlie Kirk. That this man was not an elected official. Who was Melissa Hortman? She was an elected official in Minnesota. Her husband, and her dog were unalived, and another elected official was actually targeted by assassin, a Republican, a Trump supporter. And there's a graphic out there, if I get a chance I might put it up here, because I said I was going to do my receipts, that shows that the past few people who've done violent things, the person who went after Nancy Pelosi's husband, the folks who had plotted to gag and whatever to Whitman in Michigan, the person who went after Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, all the political violence, all of the violence that have been lobbied against or have been threatened against Democrats, liberals, all the people who actually carried out violence in the name of politics, with the people who have words from Donald Trump in their manifesto when they do mass shootings. It's all been Republicans. They act out on. I've said recently that Democrats and liberals do say sort of violent things in the comment sections related to activities and people from the right, but they don't carry out. They're just all talk and bluster. They're not doing it. The Republicans are actually doing that. There's a meme out there that says the leftists who did not want Charlie Kirk to go to Utah State University petitioned, they rallied, they did sit-ins, they protested. That's what we do. The right-winger who didn't like what Charlie Kirk said took out a gun and took him out. So that's the difference. We're not the same. So all those both-siders, F you both-siders. There's no such thing. There's not the same. One side is trying to protect your rights, give you labor rights, give you health care, make sure you can breathe healthy, make sure you're taken care of, your finances are okay, your children can eat, we're trying to take after the one side. The other side is trying to take away all the rights. They're trying to give the money to the rich people and the wealthy and extract people, and they're operating on hate. And that's essential. That brings me back to Kirk. Again, I'm going to get to Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk, he was a hate monger and he pandered in hate. And how do we know this? Because one of the first things the people who wanted to avenge his death did is they went and called bomb threats and threatened to shoot up HBCUs. We have nothing to do with this. The call was coming from inside the house. The grandmother of Tyler Robinson said, nah, everybody in my family, we're MAGA. The grandmother made it clear, to the extent that Fox News and other folks are trying to say he was a leftist. He was Nancy Mace. Came out and said, this is on the Democrats. This is on the Democrats.
And I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Girl, I'm suing you. Jesse Walters, the leftists,
they are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, the media.
Doing all this, Donald Trump, all you guys, all the sinners, all the people always say to black people when a police officer unalives one of our own is wait for all the facts to come out. The wait for all the facts to come out crowd, the people, whenever we ask for common sense gun control, when there's a mass shooting in the United States, say, let's not politicize this. That's the first thing they did within seconds, within minutes of that guy being announced dead. They went straight for the jugular. They went nuclear. No facts, no motive, no person arrested whatsoever, and they started going for the liberals, threatening us. Donald Trump said it's all war. He's so divisive. We know we can't expect much from him.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today. Radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
They went nuclear on us. No facts out. Not even waiting. Politicized it. Nancy Mace says this is on the Democrats. Today they're all eating crow. And one of the worst examples of it is the governor, Spencer Cox of Utah, who said that he prayed to his Lord, to his God, that the person who actually unalived Charlie Kirk would have been actually someone from another country or from out of state. He said this in front of Kash Patel, who is immigrant, whose parents came from another.
You know, this bad stuff happens. For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for. Just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, "Hey, we don't do that here." And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here.
The country. And you know what would have happened had the person really been a black person, someone from another country, is that meant that would give full license and authority for Charlie Kirk's acolytes to come after us. He wanted an ending that would result with us being targeted the way that they're coming after the. That is the end result that he prayed for. So you can't trust them. And so let's go backwards. You can't trust the Republican governors to govern with shit, because the governors of Texas wanted to disenfranchise his voters and use some rules and procedures to take away 5 Democratic districts, disenfranchise residents and citizens of his own state, because Donald Trump is scared of what's going to happen in midterms. He's going to lose the midterms. He's going to lose royally. That's not even a doubt, because that's tradition. I've said this before. It happened to Joe Biden. It happened to Donald Trump. It happened to Donald Trump the first term. It happened to Joe Biden. It happened to Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. The party of the president in office, when he wins, and 2 years during the midterms, usually loses the Congress, because what happens is people get tired of them having the trifecta and says, no, we cannot. We need some balance. And oh hell, people know we need balance right now, right? So that's, Governor Texas. Then you have the governor of Missouri saying this week that he's going to do the same thing. He's going to follow along. We've already had my governor, my state, Wes Moore, and the governor of Michigan and Kathy Hochul in New York said, you know what, for every red state that tries to disenfranchise the blue districts, we're going to disenfranchise a red. We're going to keep this balance. So we wouldn't like not to do this. It's going to be temporary. We're going to put it to our citizens to do it. You all are just disenfranchising and doing it on an executive level or legislative level. We're going to do it and put it to the voters. That's what they're doing in California. And to the extent the voters in our state, our blue states, want to make sure that they avenge the disenfranchisement of their blue compadres in red states, they're going to allow us to do it, and it's going to be tit for tat. So try it. And we all know that the Republican states are takers. They take more for their states from the federal government, from the taxpayers, than the blue states. Blue states are usually more wealthier. We have higher tax rates. We push more, and because we're wealthier, we don't qualify for those benefits. And so we are givers. They're now sustaining themselves on our economy, on our ingenuity, on us. And so in this civil war, like I said in the previous video, the civil war of 2025 is not going to look like the civil war of the 1800s. People corrected me because I said 1700s. But there were civil wars in other countries in 1700s, just not in our country. The civil war of that era is going to look different. It's going to look like the disenfranchised, the craziness, the stress, the anxiety. It's going to look like what it's looking like now with the Kirk situation, when they said they're going to declare civil war on us. Declare civil war on yourself. I love the fact that Tyler Robinson's grandmother came out and said, this is not, it had nothing to do with, no, people were saying it was because he had been a leftist, could he been a Democrat? So the grandmother was absolutely not. He might be a murderer. He's not a Democrat. His Mima said his papa's a MAGA, his mama's a MAGA, my whole family MAGA. We come from MAGA. We're MAGAs. So there's no doubt. Anyway, so I digress. So the governors can't be trusted. They cannot be trusted. They can't be trusted because Governor DeSantis and his Surgeon General is trying to stop mandates for vaccines. He's trying to make the kids sick. We've worked to eradicate diseases for years. Diseases are no longer around. But now you have Florida is going to be like, come on, go on disease, come on back, take out our populations. They're violating their own laws, their environmental laws, to allow Donald Trump to build detention centers in their precious Everglades, something that no one can do in their state. They do. Everyone in Florida protects and know the importance of the Everglades, and this guy's willing to sacrifice and soil the precious ecological gem in his state to appease Donald Trump. So they're all about MAGAs. They can't trust them. Vote them out as soon as you can. DeSantis is not running again, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with Abbott, but vote them out because they can't be trusted. The Republicans in the legislature, this week, the senators, they've gone nuclear. They pulled the option to change the rules to allow them to push Donald Trump's cabinet picks, so Donald Trump's nominations. And why is that dangerous and why is that stupid? Because there's reports out that says that they were upset that the ones that already recently confirmed have left already. They're not cut out for this. They thought they were. Donald Trump has nominated people, and they've gone on record on hot mic saying, I was nominated. I don't even know what this department does. I'm going to get to his Inept cabinets, how none of them know what they're doing either. And and you're frustrated that the nominations you've already confirmed have left the job, but yet you're going to change the Senate rules to allow more Donald Trump's picks to go through after the picks. And you know what that going nuclear is going to mean. And you Democrats, do not be lily-livered when we regain Congress, when we regain the White House. Go all off, balls for walls. This going high when they go low bullshit. Michelle Obama's already said she's done with that as well. So yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Those days are over. We're not doing that. So, yeah, you can't trust the Congress. They're the ones who put the cabinet. So let's go to the cabinet members. What have they done this week? They're proven that they are terrible and don't know what they're doing. They're inept. They're goons. They're sycophants. They have no independence, whatever. They just do what Trump tells them, what the puppeteers, techno-fascists, what's the guy, Peter Thiel and the Yarvin's disciples want to do, because they're puppeteering Donald Trump, who repeats, he's so impressionable that he repeats whatever messaging, whatever thoughts, whatever principles, whatever values of the last person that he spoke with when he met with Putin, and Putin said, get rid of mail-in ballots. Donald Trump comes out the meeting, he gets out the limousines and says, yeah, we're going to get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to get rid of the mailboxes. He's so impressionable. He's so transactional. But the cabinet members are just terrible. Let's go through the cabinet members real quick. Pete Hegseth, who started off his tenure on a 51, I think, 51-50 vote. Like he was confirmed by the slimmest of margins of all the cabinet members, right? He comes out with a single negate. He's so happy. He decides to put his wife, his in-laws, his lawyer, all those folks on a Signal chat. Signal, which is insecure. Remember butter emails, Hillary's server? Remember Republicans back in the day, the old Republicans were so, for years, butter emails, she used that server. Pete Hegseth still in the job, even after he says he wiretapped two members of his communication staff who he assumed were the ones leaking information. He did it illegally. J.D. Vance had to come. He's like, you can't do that. Then he said, oh, I didn't do it. So you either lied about doing that or you did it. You pushed those people out. And those folks are like, we didn't do that. And they're suing. Everyone sues. This administration is they do so many unconstitutional, unlawful things that they're going to be sued to the tilt. We're going to be paying out. If you don't know, from Trump's first term, we're just now making payouts to all the people who sued the government. Donald Trump and just violating the law. Pete Hegseth said that they said he has disciplined people who made fun of or who said disparaging things about Charlie Kirk, which is a violation of First Amendment rights. Soldiers have First Amendment rights. Pete Hegseth, who recently, and this week is coming out, news is saying that the 11 people that he bombed and killed on the boat, saying we're getting rid of the drug, we're not even drug cartel members. So you just killed nations of another nation, Venezuelan of another country. That's a war crime. Pete Hegseth did that. There's no proof. They just act. They're kids. They're just Battleship. He's playing a Battleship, a game. He's a kid. He's a Fox News host. Why is a Fox News host who is admitted alcoholic, who we believe mentally and or physically abused his wife per the wife's sister, who did Signalgate and Signalgate Part 1, Signalgate Part 2, who looks like he violated the espionage, the laws related to wiretapping, who just doing a lot of bad things, demoralizing the rank and file because they know he doesn't know what he's doing. This guy went and unalived citizens of another nation and without any proof is looking like, because they're asking, people are demanding proof and they don't have proof. And that's how the whole administration, the inept, unqualified doing. And Pete Hegseth, out of all of the cabinet members, is the only one I feel like is doing whatever the hell he wants. The other folks are puppeted. Pam Bondi, she violates her oath of office, her oath to the Constitution, her oath as officer of the court to only put forth prosecutions based on facts and law. She does not do that. She violated that multiple times since she's been AG. She does what Stephen Miller tells her to do, and Stephen Miller is not an attorney. She has no agency whatsoever for herself. She has no independence. She is turned herself. Kamala said Donald Trump is going to make the Department of Justice his personal lawyer, his personal law firm, to avenge people who try to hold him accountable for his actions. That's what's happening. We see that right now before our eyes. Yeah, Pam Bondi, when she came as AG, she said I think she made a statement, or she made it known that she wanted to champion domestic violence victims, and she wanted to be the champion of rights, and that's what she was hoping would be her hallmark. But right when she came in the office, Elon Musk started cutting programs for domestic violence victims and undermining the Violence Against Women's Act off the bat, off the run. And they just told her just do it. So she goes in front looking scared, and she says, we're gonna come after you bakers, you coffee shops, for having dared to have a menu item that talks bad about Israel. Like that, really? She decimated, removed the civil rights division altogether. She moved everyone out of the office. All they're talking about is immigration 100% of the time. There's a long list of things that the Department of Justice normally does. They're not going after traffickers anymore. They're not going after the financial people, the white collar criminals. They've abandoned every single thing that they've done, that the Department of Justice normally does, only to go after immigration and just put forth Donald Trump's immigration agenda, because that's all he has. He's not doing anything to help people's lives. This economy, he's underwater in terms of approval for economy, and Republicans are supposed to be the party of the economy. We all know that's not true. The last 50 million jobs, they said 1 million was created by Republican administration, 49 million by Democrats. And we know that's historically. Bill Clinton inherited a recession from Ronald Reagan, fixed it up. He was like the last president to actually have a balanced budget, I believe. And then he handed it off to George W. Bush, who destroyed it, and who handed off a recession to Barack Obama. And it took 8 years. Barack Obama fixed it, gave it to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, he's stupid, because what he could have done with Biden, and my husband actually said he was scared that Donald Trump was going to do this time what he did to Barack Obama. Barack Obama gave him an economy where jobs were going up, the GDP was going up, S&P 500, whatever, everything was doing well. We had record job growth, good economy, and he didn't mess it up too much. So when he was able to win in 2024, a lot of people were talking about how good they had it the first 2 years of Donald Trump's administration, because that was the Obama's economy they were benefiting from. So he got to take the credit for Obama's economy. After COVID, obviously things went south, but he won partially because of Barack Obama's economy. And then he hands Joe Biden this economy, which is obviously impacted by COVID. And Joe Biden works hard, 4 consecutive months, month after month of job growth. You know when the first time we've had unemployment? Just this past quarter under Donald Trump. The housing prices were doing pretty well. Rents were doing pretty well. The consumer confidence was doing pretty well. Home ownership amongst various different demographics were going up under Joe Biden. I did all of the things. The graphs were going up. We had greens under Joe Biden. Joe Biden handed Donald Trump a great. People talk about Biden economics or Bidenomics. Bidenomics was prosperity. We were going growth. He was decreasing inflation. You know what happened this week? We had a record level increase of inflation. You went to buy your child school supplies, you probably had to pay. I saw $10 they were charging for one notebook in one drugstore in the DC metropolitan area. The inflation, everyone's noticing the prices. Donald Trump came in and had the opportunity. Anyway, I'm going to get to him in a second. Let me go back to the cabinets. So Pete Hegseth is inept. This week, Linda McMahon, a person who lied about her own education, who's the Department of Education cabinet head. She's the, what do they call them? The cabinet heads. The Secretary of the Department of Education, who lied about her own education. When she was on the Board of Education in Connecticut, I believe, she lied and said she had an education degree. She has a degree in French. And then the reporter who was about to expose her was just about to hit send on her report. She stepped down. That person who didn't know with IDEA, which is the hallmark program of the Department of Education, which allows children who are special needs in all different states to have certain standards to make sure their needs are met and they could be integrated in the classrooms. That's the bellwether benchmark sort of premium purpose of the Department of Education. She didn't know what that was. So he put a bunch of people who don't know their jobs, and they just tell her what to do and she just do it. Donald Trump says remove and dismantle, make Department of Education bare bones, because he can't dismantle the Department of Education, but he can fire all the people and make it bare bones. And someone said, oh, they're going to give that money or give that power, give that stuff to the states. The red states are the bottom when it comes to education. Do you really want them? They can't manage their own education. They don't need more money to mismanage education. Department of Education is trying to keep standards a certain thing. That's why we have the Department of Education. So that's not good to give it to states who are failing in that. So that means all those children in those states are really going to be in for it. They're going to be back to anyway. They told her to dismantle. She says she's dismantling. They told her to defund HBCUs. And this is so interesting because so many brothers were saying that Donald Trump did more for HBCUs than any other people, which was a lie. When Donald Trump had the HBCU budget, he zeroed it out. There was a member of the HBCU caucus in Congress had to come back and talk to him and put it back in. He added a little bit more money. And so because he added a little bit more money after being talked to not zeroed it out, they're giving him credit. After that, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris pledged like $1 billion, pledged way more money than Donald Trump did. But there's narrative that Donald Trump did more. The HBCU went around, and now Linda McMahon saying she's going to defund HBCUs because they're anti-black, they're anti-people of color, they're anti-trans, they're anti-intellectualism, they're anti-education. They're scared of rainbows. They're scared of books. They call us the snowflakes, but they're scared of everything. They're more scared of a book turning their child, like they say, gay, but not scared of guns that actually have unalived one of their own. So, I digress. Linda McMahon. Then you have Tulsi Gabbard, who fired the two lawyers in her office who wrote a memo at her behest that said that the conclusion was that Donald Trump did not have the authority to use the Alien Enemies Act to round up a bunch of Venezuelans, deny them due process rights, deny them the opportunity to speak, and send them over to El Salvador for 100 days. They're coming back. They're going to sue. And she fired those guys who did that. She fired some agents, and in the process, she unmasked them, which puts them and their family members in danger, and other people they worked with, their lives endangered. The ineptitude of Tulsi Gabbard, who she tried to drag Barack Obama into something that's a long since determined issue related to Russia's collusion and Russia's insertion in American politics, which has been already litigated, discussed, investigated, and we're moved on. Just 2 presidents ago, she's trying to drag Barack Obama in to try to win favor with Donald Trump, who really doesn't care. And he was just mad because she kind of went against him, and then to get back, she's just, girl, sit down. She doesn't know what she's doing. She wasn't qualified for her job. And Kristi Noem didn't know what habeas corpus is. She's releasing reports that I think Stephen Miller wrote of all of the sanctuary cities. It was such a big mess of a memo. They had to recall it because it included sheriffs in cities that actually are supportive of Trump, who are MAGA, and they were like, how the hell we get on this list? They had to pull it back. That's how inept she is. She doesn't have any law enforcement background. That's why when some man wanted to set up a guy that was going to be an informant who's going to testify against him in a trial, that person just went and called ICE and said, this guy wrote something bad about Donald Trump. And Kristi Noem, who has no law enforcement background, did not investigate and started pushing that story, pushing that narrative in the press before it was relieved that, no, that's a hoax. Because she has no law enforcement background. She just cosplays. And South Park did her really dirty, but did her good when he talked about all her fillers. Because she looks nothing like how she looked like when she was the governor of was it South Dakota? Where's she from? The governor from? Anyway, she changed. And she was upset because her extensions and her wax melting face, and she did not like that at all. And she cosplays, and she doesn't know what she's doing. And she's inept. And so there we go down the line. And RFK Jr. just he's just making a mess. He's a conspiracy theorist, former heroin addict, doesn't know anything about health, has no medical background. And all of the Pediatrics Association, all these states are saying, we're ignoring all the things that you're doing. We're not going to do. They're firing people from the CDC and removing mandates at a time when we need it more than ever. So again, none of Donald Trump's, all of his cabinet members have been, I did videos saying why the Senate and why I was encouraging people to call their senators and representative members and saying, do not confirm these people. They confirmed all of them. So, and they're all doing a terrible job. And now they went nuclear to try to confirm more. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why people would think that a person who bankrupts 6 casinos would do a good job. A lot of MAGAs, when you talk to them, they say, well, he's a good businessman. We want him to run America like he runs his businesses. He bankrupted his businesses, and that's why he's bankrupting the United States. And he's bankrupting our esteem. He's bankrupting our authority. He's bankrupting our Operation 2/3. I'm going to wrap this up. This is a super long video. I didn't expect it to be this long, but it is. And the next one, the legal L's, shouldn't be this long. It's going to be just 10 minutes, part 2. But Operation 2/3, it's like if we vote them all off, when we vote them all off, we can get common sense gun control. We can get immigration reform. We can remove Donald Trump from office and all of his sycophants. We can start the investigations, the Nuremberg type trials. Our Democrats regain the chairmanship in all the major committees in Congress, and we can have subpoena power. We can call some of those folks up to answer for their crimes. We can do so much with 2/3. We can start putting guardrails. Here's the thing. I saw Bob Menendez was part of a task force in between Trump 1 and Trump 2 and during the Biden administration, and they found out all of these abuses. And after they found all the abuses, the committee, the task force, came up with all these solutions to put up guardrails to protect our democracy, to protect our government, to protect our citizenry against such abuses again, should someone like Donald Trump come back. And they had all those calls to actions and all of those plans. They didn't implement them. And so because they didn't implement them, when Trump came in, all of those things that they identified were abuses, he's doing them again because they didn't put the guardrails in. So this time, put the freaking guardrails in. go nuclear. Use every single tool, every single abuse they've done. You can toe the line or teeter it. Don't abuse, don't be unlawful, but to the extent that you can do what you have to do to start the process of healing the nation and fixing the mess that Donald Trump's done already. We just 10 months in. Can imagine what's going to happen for the next. We're going to have elections. People say, we're not going to have elections. That's if they're allowed to have elections again. I don't know. I feel like there's a bot talking point, because the people who say that say the same thing over and over again. I'm convinced it's bots, because it's the exact same line. Who knows if we're going to have elections again? We're not going to have elections again. All that is disinformation to encourage people to not even bother, to not even care. So you're putting that line. If you're a person, you say you're leftist or say you're liberal, and you put that in any comment on any of my videos, I delete and remove them and hide them. I won't necessarily block you, but I'm removing that stuff because that's disenfranchisement. That tells people stay home because it doesn't matter. The elections don't matter. Trump has it. It's stolen anyway. It's a Russian propagandist technique to disenfranchise people and discourage the electorate, and by just telling them just give up. And that's why I know people don't like that video I did about defeatist. I have one daughter meme, and I was talking to defeatist. That did pretty well. It resonated well for people on TikTok. It resonated well on Instagram, and it resonated well on YouTube to a certain extent, but people really love that because people said they're looking for something to be encouraging. Anyway, so that's what I'm here to. I try to provide context and try to help you frame what's going on, to pivot into a more a space where you have more calm and see the bigger picture and see the end. I want you to see the end of Operation 2/3. We can beat Trump. We must vote out every Republican who enables this mess, and we'll get our country back. Mike Lee made fun of Melissa Hortman when she passed away, who was assassinated, a victim of political violence. I don't know what he said this week. Actually, he had nice and kind things to say about the unelected civilian podcaster known for hateful rhetoric. Figures. It tracks. About the fact that a MAGA unalive their own, but I do know, I'm sure he's one of the people who blame the Democrats. I want to sue Nancy Mace. I want to sue Donald Trump. I want to sue Jesse Walters. I want to sue Spencer Cox. Every single person out there who's an elected official who used their platform to malign Democrats, because they put my life in danger as a Democrat by saying we're responsible for Charlie Kirk, and things that we say ignited whoever ended Charlie Kirk's life and blaming on us, when it turns out this guy looks like he's the right of Charlie Kirk. He's a Nick Fuentes. And someone said, you mean there's different types of MAGA? We're like, yes, there's MAGA on MAGA on MAGA. There's the MAGA that do not like the Laura Loomer MAGA, who's not about, and Steve Bannon, who not about the H-1B visas. You have the Vivek Ramaswamy, who's all about, and the tech bros who need their H-1B visas. Then you have the Nick Fuentes types who are neo-Nazis, the right of Charlie Kirk, and that's what happened. The different types of MAGA. You have the old rule MAGAs. You got the new school MAGAs. There's different factions of MAGAs, and they all agree. Just the way the Democrats have the leftists, and you have people left, and you have the middle, and you have the folks, Democrats, who are like slightly to the right, centrist. So all the different factions, they're infighting, and so that's what we have here. So we're going to get rid of the incompetent loyalists, and we are going to regain and reclaim America and try our best to repair the damage that's been done. Anyway, so that's what I have for you. It's a super long podcast. I might do it live, or I might do more lives. I do want to do more lives. I'm just scared and nervous. I feel like I lost a few people because I keep promising members of my community to not just give them scripted videos, to actually give them office hours. But I think I need support to do it. I need to do it when someone else is on. I think I have somebody who's going to help me. And so I'm going to try to do it this week coming. We'll see. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this podcast. If you like this style, please comment below. Let's start the conversation. And and stay tuned for my legal L's video, which I'm going to do next. Thanks. And you're watching this on YouTube. I'm going to put here a playlist of my legal L's for the week compilation, so you can just watch it, binge it, listen to it in the background, share the link to the playlist to other people who need that sort of dopamine, some sort of euphoric feeling that comes from hearing losses lobbied against the Trump administration when it seems like they're winning. But this week is a major loss week for them, even though it seemed like Trump has gone nuclear on certain things. This week is them owning, them having to eat crow, them having to apologize, or them having to accept the fact that the call was coming from the inside the house and they prematurely jumped down our throats. It's like we are empowered now to be like, get off of our necks. Pay us for defaming us. You punk bastard. Anyway, all right, that's it. That's all I have for you. Stay tuned. Let me know what you think about this format. It's a super long video, but I have so much to say. Maybe I'll do more essay style, and I'll present it more like an essayist. But for now, it's just podcast style. The essay style would be more structured. It has like chapters and pre-recorded statements and zingers and lines. This is just me riffing. I'm gonna try that podcast. I'm gonna try the essayist style soon too. Just experimenting. Thanks again.